Hello, and welcome to GoH Talk, a podcast for all things Guild of Heroes. I'm Galgamir, leader of Forest of Sherwood, avid game player and podcast amateur. Firstly, if you're new to the podcast, then thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoy the show, and I do encourage you to listen to our previous episodes if you haven't already. If you like what you hear, then please do subscribe to the podcast. We aim to release one episode a week, focused on a particular topic and aspect of the game. We are of course on social media in all the usual places, email as well if you would like to write in. Details of all that at the end of the show or in the show notes. Patch 1.69 dropped not long after I released last week's episode, and what an update it is. A couple of days ago, another patch was released for improvements, changes and bug fixes. In this episode, we will try to cover as much as possible about our new companions. There is quite a lot to go over. Hopefully we answer some questions people have about the new pet system. Again, there is a lot of intricate things that make up how the pets work, so we'll try to cover as much as possible and give you a bit more insight if you do have questions. Let's start from the beginning and work our way through with as much structure as I can manage. I will base this off what you see first and in order. Towards the end, I will state the differences of each type of pet. Firstly, you do need to be at power level 25 in order to unlock the Beastmaster. Once you have reached that, then you are met with the pet management screen. There are 8 options of pets to attain, 2 different species, dragons and stags, and for those 2 species they have 4 options of type, name of light, dark, nature and mechanical, or as they are named for me, Lux, Ombra, Anima and Machina. Now, if you are below power level 45, then you'll only be able to choose a dragon. There is a power range. No, not ranger. Range. A power range of 26 to 86 and 40 to 118 for what you can unlock. It's interesting for the range for the stags begins at 40, yet it wants my power level to be at 45 to then unlock it. Not entirely sure what the story is there. You will notice the pets have tiers and their initial stats of damage and health. So we will simply begin with the dragons as the premise is all the same anyway, and will include everyone. In order to attain a pet, you will need eggs of the specific type for what you want to summon. So, anima eggs, machina eggs, etc. If you are navigating all this from the pet's management screen, then simply clicking on Find More next to the egg type will bring up a new screen. This is a map called Island of Elements. If you go to the general campaign and dungeon map, there is also a button on the bottom right hand side that will transport you there as well. You'll see 5 areas to which are visible and labelled against the type of pet's eggs you want to collect. There is also another area, but more on that later. A little bit of insight, it's a Tower of Trials for pet abilities. Back to the area. Clicking on one of these brings up a new window like you'd have for a campaign or a dungeon. It will show you the rewards, the recommended power level to run the course, along with its standards, easy, normal, hard and extreme. It also allows you to hire a partner. My recommendation, hire a partner. When you enter the instance, you are taken to the island where creatures and monsters will want to attack you. However, there is also these floating orbs that you cannot directly attack. These will take presence within a body that you can then attack. At the top of the screen there is a hunt timer. When this countdown reaches 0, you will want to have taken down all the spirit-filled creatures. If you have done so, the words "All Spirits Captured" will appear at the top of the screen. As usual, the end of the run brings up a chest and will present the rewards, provided you didn't die. You will arrive back in Greyhaven now. A wizard did that, where your bag is a bit more full. You should have a lockbox based on the type of eggs you are after. Open that up to gain another item. It will either be eggs, spirits, or items. Think of it as gear that the pet will utilise. I will fast forward a bit here. You need 20 eggs to unlock your first pet. So let's say you're there now. Summon your new pet, and then going about hugging it and petting it and calling it George and or big bad evil red flying dragon thing. Yeah. You're met with a more in-depth screen. Your bag has many spirits in it, and perhaps some of those items and 3 abilities. Abilities, they can be upgraded with points. Each run of the island may grant you some more points to which you can upgrade those abilities more. That is pretty straightforward. These abilities are green, so much like characters' abilities, I'm sure there are blue, purple and orange ones to come. I'm currently at upgrade level 4 for each of mine. I've been doing them linear. Spirit Stones. These are those floating orbs you are killing in the creature, in a form that is a consumable for your pet. The more you feed your pet, the more its level will grow. Much like your character, its level is partially linked to its power level, so it will become stronger, but not entirely from feeding it. This is where items come into play. Initially, these will be blank and have a plus sign next to them. If you have items in your bag, you can add these to the slots. Take note, it warns that once they are equipped, they are equipped. You can upgrade and put in greater quality items in the future, but the options will only be of the same type of item. Items can be upgraded by melding, where the same item of a greater or stronger quality will combine with your existing. And, like normal gear, unwanted items can be used to upgrade your equipped items and make them even more powerful or stronger. Items can also have runes put into them, exactly like your character gear. Eggs are the last big question mark for most people here. Store these. You will get them from doing runs, but you won't know what to do with them just yet, so store them for now. Once my pet hit level 17, or 18, I could evolve it. Not a massive visual evolve difference, but a star rating evolve. There's 5 empty star slots below the pet's power level, and evolving will fill these, eventually leading to a visual change. It was 45 eggs for the first evolve, 85 for the second evolve, which did result in a more obvious visual change, and this is as far as I've currently gone. The screen otherwise features the usual information icon. Clicking this brings up full stats of the pet. The only other thing to note is the energy bar at the bottom. Pets can be used 7 times before put on a cooldown, previously only 5. Or you can hire it with the cost of diamonds. I guessed that right last week, didn't I? You may have noticed when adding a partner to do the island that it also has the option to add your pet. This will be the same for all areas now. Now that is the main bulk and a quick rundown of the way pets work from attaining one of the basic upgrades. A bit more in-depth things now. Well, the key is to get all pets. No. Well, kind of. You want to collect the different types, as they each have strengths and weaknesses. Rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock, if you will. In a word, each type of pet has its own equally opposite pet to which it is weaker or stronger against. Why is this important? Well, that is for a future patch. But I will give some insight with confidence, and from something obvious already in the game. If you go to the arena area now, it has a small box on the right hand side. Pets are coming soon to PvP. So if you plan on taking revenge against that couple who you keep doing return serves with, then take note, their pets and yours may make the difference of an easy win. What else has changed? There is also a new pets tab at a shop vendor. So for lockboxes you can purchase, these are filled with either items, eggs and spirits. Depending on the box you purchase, means you get different quantities. Dungeons. Dungeon bosses also feature a pet. Definitely take a partner, or a pet. For these now, they are definitely harder, even if you're at the correct power level. These remain active from the time you enter the dungeon, and on a side note, mana gem runs also have partners as being active right away. No longer just summon at the mana gem activation area. So, say goodbye to your low level activators. If they don't make it to the activation pad, you don't get your gems. I am glossing over quite a bit here. As mentioned, there is quite a lot to this pet system, and I'm going on what I have witnessed and played, along with a little bit of information along the way. I've seen the big question mark splashed about in chat, which is a big, obvious, but answerable question. Why do pets have a limited number of uses and cooldowns? Why? Well, as I did state, so you can spend diamonds. However, the idea is to own each of those pets so you have one for each circumstance. If you base off 4 dragons with 7 uses each, that's 28 runs with a pet. With the cooldown in mind, it's possible to simply keep running with a pet, unless you are doing that many campaigns or dungeon runs that you beat the cooldown, and that cooldown time was decreased quite significantly. Now cooldowns I think will be most people's biggest gripe. On the island all cooldowns are linked, so you can't jump from one area to the other once you've earned up to 5 runs on that particular colour. You can buy runs with diamonds, so if you don't want to wait, there is the option. Before we leave the island and run over the 4 different types and what they each have, we have the last looming area on the island, called Soaring Isles. I made mention of this at the beginning of the podcast. The Soaring Isles is a variation of the Tower of Trials, but the rewards are items for pets, and some nice amounts of gold, though sadly this was slightly reduced with the patch. Anyway, there isn't much more to say here. You get keys to unlock islands with different tiers. Once you've run out of keys, you're on a cooldown. The chest that drops in the end has your loot. The one twist, however, is that you do fight a pet boss at the end of each level, so take note, these little guys can pack a punch. Finally, before we wrap things up, I will run through the types of pets and their abilities, what they provide you as utility, and also just a bit of background information. To note one thing, I currently am only powerful enough to have the dragons. I have unlocked all 4 and their abilities, however, but this is just a basic run of the dragons alone. All these abilities are presented with the pets on initiating them, and only green common spells. I'm not mentioning all percentages of damage, as I've upgraded some, and those details do change based on the spell over its particular damage and time. Let's start with Machina. Machina abilities. Oil belching. The pet spits out 3 oily globs, dealing a percentage of damage. There is also a percentage that said damage could be increased by 100%. Stun rocket. Pet shoots a stun rocket, lowering its attack speed and move speed by a certain percentage over an amount of time. There's also a chance to inflict a stun. Total defense. Pet gets a temporary HP increase of its current HP. During this time, pet's move speed is reduced slightly, and there's a chance of an increase of 50%. Moving on to Lux. Lux's first one is Scorching Ray. The pet shoots out a ray of intense heat, which deals damage to a single threat and inflicts a burn for an amount of time. There's a chance the damage will be increased by 100%. Blinding Light inflicts confusion upon a single target, lowering its attack with a chance to inflict a blind. Healing Sunlight creates an area with a radius around the pet. By staying within it, pet and its owner regain HP. There's a chance to increase healing by 50%. Umbra abilities. Breath of Darkness. Pet breathes a thick mass of shadow, which deals an increased percentage of pet damage, where a chance the damage will be increased by 100%. Haunting Spirit. Summons a vengeful spirit to haunt a single target, inflicting it with a percentage of damage vulnerability with a chance to also inflict fear. Shadow Decoy. Pet becomes invisible, leaving behind a shadowy decoy with a percentage of the pet's health and dealing a percentage of its damage. Pet can't use their abilities whilst this is active, or the shadow dies. There's a chance the decoy's health can be 50% greater. Finally, the last one. Anima abilities. Poison Wind. Pet belches a toxic cloud, inflicting a percentage of damage with a chance it will be increased by 100%. Mental Chaos. Inflicts delay upon a single target, increasing its active cooldowns for an amount of time. There's a chance to silence also. Mirror Image. Pet creates 2 copies of itself, which have the percentage of HP and damage output as the pet. Pet can't use its abilities while these are active. There's a chance the mirrors will have 50% increase in health. And that is a basic rundown of the pet patch. This hasn't covered absolutely everything. As mentioned, there is quite a lot to this. However, it gives a little bit more insight, hopefully for all of you. So, that's pretty much the end for today. If you have any further questions, please do write into the show. I'll help as best as possible. I may even read your question out on the show for the benefit of others. GoTalkPodcast@gmail.com. We won't be doing segments or anything this week. I have been working hard on fixing the...
Segment selector.
More on that next week. If you like what you hear and want to write into the show, you can find us on social media. GoTalk Podcast on Facebook and Twitter @GoTalk. You can write a comment on the YouTube uploads. Visit the podcast page, anchor.fm/GoTalkPodcast. You can even send us an email at gotalkpodcast@gmail.com, or perhaps you might even see my character in Greyhaven. If you have suggestions, comments, stories, or anything else you want to contribute, please do feel free to send me a contact. Credits to Steve DeClifford of Steve DeClifford Music for the intro and outro music named Acoustic Alchemy. You can find full tracks of his works on Facebook at Steve DeClifford Music. The episode is hosted on all good podcast locations. Please do subscribe to be notified when new episodes are released. This is Galgamir, signing off from GoTalk. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch you next time.